Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now, obviously we know that Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury came face to face in Marbella while both on vacation, and it wasn't a setup. And I mean, I don't believe we ever really thought it was a setup. Obviously it's just a coincidence. What would they be doing? Would they be having a meeting for Undisputed? No, of course not. They're the fighters. They have promoters and managers who deal with that. So ultimately it was never going to be a meeting just for Undisputed or anything like that. It's just a coincidence. Now, Eddie Hearn has explained what Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury said to one another. He first said it was amazing people think that it was a setup, because it obviously wasn't, but then also said that AJ was walking down the road and saw Fury. Fury drove up and opened a window and was like, alright. And I think he said to AJ, make sure you beat Kubrat Pulev. And AJ said, make sure you beat Deontay Wilder. And they both said, I will, and I'll see you next year. That is what they have both said to one another during that meeting. And obviously, that means Undisputed is happening because both fighters believe it. Both fighters have come face to face and confirmed they are planning to face one another next year, provided they come through their respected opponents. Now, the interesting thing about that is Anthony Joshua was told by Tyson Fury to beat Kubrat Pulev. Anthony Joshua then told Tyson Fury to beat Deontay Wilder. No mention of Alexander Usyk. No mention of Dillian White. Just those two fights. So does that mean they are planning to push aside Alexander Usyk, push aside Dillian White, and make the fight anyway? Because they are mandatory challengers. They are mandated to fight for the title. So in some way, are they going to try and get out of those fights? In some way, have they already done that? Or is it possible that maybe Anthony Joshua is going to vacate the WBO world title and maybe Tyson Fury is going to become franchise champion? Because if he vacates the WBC belt, then he kind of loses his piece of silverware that he brings to the table, other than the Ring Magazine and lineal status, which I'm guessing Anthony Joshua just wants to fight him. WBC belt would be great, but I'm guessing that AJ just wants to fight him. I believe that after that Andy Ruiz Jr. rematch, where it was a defining moment in Anthony Joshua's career, he wants more moments like that. So silverware aside, it's not about the belts, it's about the fights, and Tyson Fury is the biggest fight out there for Anthony Joshua. So put the belt aside, I don't believe he's too bothered about that. So Tyson Fury may become franchise champion, he may even vacate, but that does not mean that Tyson Fury is not worth a 50-50 split in a fight with Anthony Joshua, because it's not about the belts. That's not what it's about. They just want to fight each other. They want to know who is number one. Even if Tyson Fury goes into that fight without a world title, still, he is going in there as possibly number one heavyweight in the world against possibly the other number one heavyweight in the world. They have to fight for us to find out who is number one. And I'm going to say it, whoever wins that fight is number one in the heavyweight division. There's no disputing that. So that makes it an undisputed fight. Whatever belts are on the line, whatever silverware is there, doesn't matter. It's an undisputed fight in that sense, because that is number one, whoever comes out victorious in that fight between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. The split will be 60-40, favouring the winner in the rematch, which is fair again. This fight is going to happen. This fight is likely going to happen after one fight each of Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, because as I said, there was no mention of Alexander Usyk, there was no mention of Dillian White. So clearly they are going to get around those mandatory positions that they are in, because Dillian White must have his opportunity by February 2021, meaning that either Dillian White is going to be upgraded to WBC World Champion, while Tyson Fury will be upgraded to Franchise Champion, and maybe Anthony Joshua is going to vacate his WBO World title so that Usyk can have his opportunity, and then Anthony Joshua is free to go and fight Tyson Fury. The belts are not everything. The belts are great to have on the line, but ultimately it's the fights and the fighters that make the belts, not the other way around. So undisputed is undisputed. WBO, no WBO. WBC, no WBC. It's an undisputed fight, no matter what. Yeah, it's better if all the belts are on the line. You have that picture at the end with the current undisputed world champion, all of the belts hanging on them. But us as fans, if they say to us, all the belts are on the line, the fight can't happen. Get rid of two belts, the fight can happen. What are we going to say? Make the fight, do it. No hesitation. We want to see this fight, because if they have to wait for all of the belts to be on the line, maybe the fight never happens. So it doesn't really matter. Get rid of the belts, get rid of the obligations, make the fight happen. And there is always the possibility that they say, okay, we're going to vacate the WBO, we're going to vacate the WBC, we're going to do Undisputed without those belts. So then Undisputed is contested for the Ring Magazine World Championship, the WBA World Title, the IBF, and the IBO. No WBO, no WBC. No history of this era having an undisputed world champion, the number one of this era, holding the WBC World Title and the WBO. Do you think that they're going to want that history attached to their belts, the very thing that made the belts themselves anyway? So, I think they're going to have to kind of buckle to this. I think that the WBC and the WBO will be forced to find some solution to this because they're going to want their belts on the line for the undisputed fight. If they don't, then the WBA, the IBF, IBO, Ring Magazine take all of the history and the undisputed champion of this era. So put that notion forward to the governing bodies involved, and they're going to want to say, okay, let's have Undisputed. Let's have our belt on the line, creating that history going forward, just like all of the past fights that have built this governing body. That is the reason why this belt means so much, because it has the history of being in these biggest fights. When a champion was considered the best of their era in their division, they held this belt. So in order for this belt to maintain that history, in order for this belt to be considered as one of the best and most prestigious in the division, whoever holds this belt is number one. Then that belt must be on the line for Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. Otherwise, the other belts are the ones that will be remembered, not the WBC, not the WBO. So that's why they must sort it out. That's why maybe Alexander Usyk will step aside. He said he's not going to. He said that he's not going to take any step aside money. Dillian Whyte is not going to either. And realistically, Dillian Whyte shouldn't. But there must be some way they are going to get around this, because in that conversation between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, the one in which Eddie Hearn has explained what they said to one another, they both explained that Anthony Joshua must come through Kubrat Pulev, make sure he beats him. Tyson Fury must beat Deontay Wilder. Then the fight can happen. No mention of Usyk, no mention of Dillian Whyte, meaning that that fight between Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte and Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk are being pushed aside, so Undisputed can happen. It would be a little bit strange anyway to make a fight 2 fights down the line, to believe that maybe there won't be a slip-up, considering Anthony Joshua has Usyk after Pulev and Tyson Fury has Dillian Whyte after Deontay Wilder. They have 2 tough fights before Undisputed can happen. So what is even the point in talking about it if it's that far down the line? So there must be some way in which this fight is going to happen next year before these mandatories happen. So that means that Tyson Fury is likely going to be franchise champion. That means that maybe Usyk will step aside, maybe he won't. Maybe Anthony Joshua has to drop that WBO belt, but there is some way that they are going to get around it. And maybe the WBO say, okay, we'll make Usyk wait, because, what do we want to do? Have our belt contested between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. The number one of this era will come out as victorious, or do we want to have a vacant world title fight 2 or 3 weeks before or after that big fight between Usyk and, Andy Ruiz Jr. or Joe Parker? They're going to want the biggest fight. I guarantee that, because these both fighters, Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, are coming together in their prime. They won't be any better than they are going to be when they step in the ring together. They are both coming into the peak of their powers. Tyson Fury coming off a career best performance against Deontay Wilder. Anthony Joshua coming off a career best performance, in my opinion, against Andy Ruiz Jr., where the mental stress and everything was just overwhelming, yet he walked down that tunnel on his own to the ring, got in there, schooled Andy Ruiz Jr., outboxed him, outboxed the guy who embarrassed him at Madison Square Garden, 2019, June 1st. In his American debut, he overturned that result. So in my opinion, career best performance from Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua will be fighting Kubrat Pulev next, which he should win. That's a fight he should win. It's going to be difficult, but he should be winning that fight. Tyson Fury fighting Deontay Wilder next, which is a fight that I believe Tyson Fury will win, and I believe that Tyson Fury has all the tools to do so. Whether he outboxes him, knocks him out, I believe he'll stop him. So when they both come through their respected fights, they will be at the peak of their powers, the best they are going to be, and they will be fighting one another for Undisputed to see who is number one of this era, and that is what is so important and intriguing about this. The belts aside, they don't matter. The fight is what matters. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this? The conversation between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury confirmed by Eddie Hearn. Anyway, guys, drop your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe if you are new. Thanks, guys.